Well, aloha kakahiaka, everyone. I'm Peter Kay, and you are with us today on April 29th, 2022 at the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Welcome. Uh, and I'm going to welcome in my friends as we kind of roll everything up here and warm up the live stream. I've got my good friend Dylan Nonaka, who is from the Big Island. How's it, Dylan? And we have Heidi Dollinger, who is hailing from Maui. On our Oahu partner and friend, Scott Startzman, is out of town today, so he's not going to be here. But we got the three of us, and we're just going to kind of warm this thing up over here. And Chris Longley. Hey, Chris, how's it, buddy? He's the first man on the thing over here at 52 degrees in Menominee, Michigan. Wishing we were Oahu right now. Wish you were here too, buddy. And Auntie Joyce, you're just such a gem. My favorite day of the week when I see all of you. You're just, like the golden person who joins the stream. Glad to see you here, Auntie Joyce. Let's go counterclockwise. Ask Heidi, what's the coffee of the day today, Heidi?
Well, I do have my coffee, and it's a great way to start the day. I did get a new mug. I don't know if you can see this. Drink coffee, talk story.
Drink coffee, talk story. Good one. I like it.
So yeah, ready for the day.
I did a tweak. I tweaked my coffee formula, Heidi. I'll have you know I did a tweak and it's working out good so far. So normally I burr grind 42 grams of beans exactly. Well, not exactly. Plus or minus a tenth of a gram. So 42 grams of coffee, and then I put that through a French press, and so I tweaked it. And now I'm doing 43 grams of coffee through a French press. And I can feel the difference a little bit stronger, but I think it's just right. Dylan, what's going on, my man? How's what's happening? We have folks. Do you notice we have matching shirt colors over here, Dylan? What's happening, buddy?
I always feel bad about this coffee discussion because, I'm from Kona, where Kona coffee is from, and I do like Costco K-Cups for coffee. So I'm definitely not at the level of you guys. I feel very inadequate on the coffee front.
So what's the shirt that looks like? What is that? A pikake? What's the flower?
Yeah, it's Living Hula. My friend's the designer. She's a kumuhula here in Kona. Our kids all go to school together, and they just came off of Merry Monarch last week, so it's one of the biggest sales weeks of the year, and it was super cool to see that happen, and just all the people coming together, and the parade happened again, and just such an important thing for our community on the island, and it's been missing for 2 years, so it's cool to see that come off.
That must have been. Did you attend, or did you go nearby it, or?
No, they had some restrictions on attendance still. So for the performance nights, it was mainly like friends and halal members. So the stadium wasn't jam packed like it normally is. My wife did attend the first night when it's a non-competition. It's more an exhibition night, but we had some friends that were performing, so that was cool for her they actually won tickets. Somebody won tickets like in a radio giveaway or something, and then gave them to one of her friends who took her. So yeah, it was a cool. She loves that. It's her favorite time of year. So we watch from home. It's just like football games. Like football games are fun. It's good to be there, but then the actual viewing of it is better from a TV where they got all the different angles and from above and the whole thing. So.
And I would think the audio is probably better too. It's mic'd up better. There's better microphones, I would think. But like you said, it's sort of like a live concert, right? To be there is one thing, right? That's an amazing piece, right? But to hear it is to watch it on TV is production wise, it's definitely better. Hey there, Patrick is back with us. Hey Patrick, how's it, buddy? Aloha from the mainland's East Coast in Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome back, Patrick. It's great to see you, buddy. And we have a good friend, an old friend. I shouldn't say an old friend, a good friend. Kelly Bishop is with us. Kelly is a alumni Islander Ohana and has worked with both Dylan on the Big Island. And I think Scott as well, if I'm not mistaken. Tom is back in the UK. I think 11 hours ahead of us, if I'm not mistaken. Tom, what's the local time there? Right now it's 9:00 here in Hawaii, 9:00 in the morning. Great to have you with us, Tom. Welcome back. And Auntie Joyce says, yeah, home viewing is best for Mary Mana. Kauai was a big victor. I did not know that. I was not tracking it this year. I'll have to look it up on YouTube and see. Are they putting Mary Monica on YouTube now? I gotta believe that there's a bunch of YouTube clips. I should do a search, I would think, right?
I don't know if the whole thing is on there. I think it's KITV that streams the whole thing, so it is available online though for streaming.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to kind of see how those guys have did it. All right, good. Hey, look, we're right on time here. It is 9 o'clock. Let us move on and get started with the show. Welcome back, everybody. And before we start, I just wanted to let's see here. What should I do? I'm going to do it this way. So, okay, before we start, you're all here. If you got any questions, pop them in the chat. We're gonna get to your questions first. You come first on our priority, and we'll be going there. So. Thanks for that. Let's get started here. And Steve, yeah, buddy, your bi-weekly dose of aloha. That's exactly it. Steve, we're glad that you're here. I love the background. That almost looks like the windward side of Oahu that you're on. Patrick, I got your question. I'm going to post it on right after we go through the news over here, and which we're going to do right now. Going to do some quick updates. All right, here we go. So, a couple things going on here. So, congratulations, Hawaii. We are number one. We are not the kind of number one that we want, but it should not come as a surprise. There's been a World Population Review study that says that Hawaii is the most expensive state to live in the USA. No surprise to those of us who live there. The ranking is Hawaii first, then Washington, D.C. second, California, followed by California, Oregon, and New York, the top five. We are the most expensive state. No surprise. And I'm wondering, those of you that are with us here, how do you deal with the expenses in Hawaii? That Hawaii is the most expensive state. What have you cut back on? What do you do to kind of keep those costs under control? Love to hear about that, especially from those of us who are living in Hawaii. Oahu Vacation Rentals. We've been following this story for a long time. It is now official. The mayor has signed the bill. If you're a regular on the show, you know that we've been talking about this issue for some time. The mayor signed the bill. Oahu Vacation Rentals are now officially banned. I don't know what date this goes into effect and whatnot. Scott, who was unfortunately not with us for today, he's out of town. But if your vacation rentals outside of the resort areas, there's 3 resort areas: Waikiki, North Shore near what's called Turtle Bay, and the west side of Ko'olina. Those 3 areas are the designated vacation resort areas. Outside of those, vacation rentals are banned. So that's going to be an interesting. We're going to have an interesting fallout for that. That is for darn sure. Diamond Head Reservation. So Diamond Head hike, man, that was like one of the hiking Diamond Head in Waikiki is a classic, kind of a must-do hike. It's got gorgeous views. It's not too difficult of a hike, but it got some small challenges to it, so it's fun. That has now become so popular that they are now moving to reservations. So if you're visiting, if you're planning on coming to Oahu and doing that Diamond Head hike, which I recommend, you want to make sure you check and plan that out in advance. Make sure you get a reservation because they're only taking so many people per day on that. What else we got here? Maui empty house tax. I want to talk to Heidi about this when it's the Maui's turn. Looks like Maui is there's some discussions now about increasing taxes on Maui homes that are empty, homes that are either being that are just full on empty, or homes that are used for vacation rentals, etc. There's a discussion about this. Apparently, 15,000 housing units, 1 in 5 throughout all of Maui, are vacant according to the 2020 consensus. So there is talk about that. And I caught this story. We talked about going on cruises, which I recommend. I recommended cruises for Hawaii. We did it. It was great. There's some stories now, which is kind of scary, of people going on cruise ships. And there was one story that came out. A visitor went on apparently a 2-week cruise. I believe it's from San Francisco to Hawaii. It's a 2-week cruise. They, double vax, boosted, etc., all that kind of good stuff, tested negative, etc., but they caught COVID while on board. And now because they're COVID positive, they can't get off. And they're also quarantined in their own room, like in jail. And so it's kind of a horror situation. I've been thinking about going on a cruise. I don't think it's kind of quite ready for a cruise just yet. I think this COVID thing is still kind of a mess. All right. And then finally, weather, you look at those beautiful temperatures, 78 degrees all the way across and 71 at night. Going to be a little bit cloudy and stormy, but I think we're all looking forward to fantastic, perfect Hawaii weather as usual. All right. That's the news as we got it. Let's say hi to a few folks who have jumped in and are joining us. See, Patrick, it's 9 p.m. in Germany. Sun just went down. Sun just went down now, 9 p.m. Oh, that's right, because you guys are north, right? So you get those late sunsets during the summer, and of course much shorter during the winter. Gil's with us. Gil is back with us. Gil, welcome back, buddy. Good to see you. Mark Whitehill, an alumni of the Island Ohana. Welcome back, Mark. Great to see you, buddy. Aloha, everyone. Andy Joyce, shop more at Costco than I ever did before. Yeah, I just don't know how families do it with the cost of food. I mean, you can't, it used to be you can't walk out of like a grocery store with less than $100. I think now we're kind of cranking up to like 150. Groceries super expensive. Yeah, exactly, Mark. Triple or quadruple what we paid in Oklahoma. That is one of the most striking things. I should play the game again when I should take a picture of my shopping cart and say, guess how much. Hey, welcome back, Joan. Joan is an alumni of the Islander Ohana. Joan, welcome back. Good to see you here. Norm is back with us. Happy Aloha Friday. What a beautiful day here in Livermore, California. Glad to hear it. Norm. Norm, I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. We're having our first Islander Ohana cohort of the new, the first meeting of the new cohort starts actually tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jana, is it Jana M? Howdy and aloha. Welcome. Great to have you back with us. Not back with us. Great to see you for the first time. Welcome. And Heather is an alumni of the Islander Ohana. Surprise, Oregon is in the top 5. Yes. Should be an easier transition to Hawaii financially, I guess. I hope so, Heather. I hope so. I think the groceries is going to be the one area. Well, don't forget, Oregon, what's my list over here? Just to kind of go over this. Oregon is number 4. So we'll see what the gap between number 1 and number 4 is. All right. I think that takes care of everybody. Let's do our news roundup. So market updates, news updates. What do you want to report on the Big Island? Let's go first to Dylan and then to Heidi. Dylan, what do you got to share with us that's going on the Big Island? You're muted.
Nationwide, I'm hearing from friends in other markets that they're starting to see a slowdown, that this uptick in interest rates are slowing things down, but I'm not seeing that here, not yet. And maybe the one thing we're kind of seeing is like instead of 10 offers, there's 3 or 4 on homes. So it's still very competitive. Lots of properties are still going for above list price as long as they're priced properly. But yeah, the market continues to roll. I mean, there's like 400 homes on the market right now on the whole island, but there's like 550 in escrow. So there's more in escrow than there are available. And on the condo side, there's like 40 condos available and 140 in escrow. So the ratio is even greater on the condo side. So still very, very low inventory, historically speaking. And we're not seeing, definitely the advice I'm giving people now is if you're using financing to definitely go and get re-qualified, because we are seeing, I had a couple of deals on the team fall out the last couple of weeks where they were qualified maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, and they've been shopping and they find something, and now that rates have gone up, they're not qualified at that same price point. So the increase in rates is definitely gonna have an effect on the market, but we haven't seen anything substantial or huge shifts yet. But it's probably coming, and the Fed keeps saying the rates are going to continue to go up. So again, been saying this for a long time now. The cost of waiting, not only with appreciation, but the cost of interest rates is going to definitely affect and reduce your buying power. So there's really no benefit in waiting at this point, as long as things keep going the way they're going.
Things are, I don't see there may be a slowdown in general, but we'll see. But I don't think it isn't like prices were artificially inflated and they're going to be dropping down to their pre-inflation levels.
And an important national statistic that I've been sharing with people is that nationwide and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but nationwide we're 5 million housing units behind historical averages in terms of the number of new homes that are built every year and put on the market. So since the recession in 2008, the new housing market hasn't caught up. So we're still very far behind. That's why kind of nationwide we're seeing this, but it's even worse here in Hawaii. We hardly build anything in Hawaii. So in terms of the increased demand and then replacing that with supply, we're way, way behind, and that's not going to change. That's a fundamental kind of underlying thing in the housing market. So, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, people are kind of waiting for a downturn or a crash. Just as long as demand stays where it is and we don't have any new supply, it's going to continue to push prices up.
Yeah. I think that is the case. Oh yeah. Hawaii's housing kind of almost came not quite to a full stop, but if you could look at the curve and like right around the 1970s when all this legislation was kicked in to stop the development, you had the pricing has gone up ever since then. I want to catch up on some comments that we're catching in before we get to you, Heidi. First, a quick Michael, but the hot dog and drink at Costco is still the same $1.50 as on the mainland. How that's like how it well clearly that's got a loss leader. There's no way they're making money on that. That's just a way to kind of get you to show up to Costco to get the $1.50 hot dog, just like the $5 chicken that's all the way in the back. There's no way they're making money on that $5 chicken,
But they have implemented now. You have to show your Costco membership
ID.
to buy the hot dog. For years, people would take advantage of that, just stop by and go get it. But you can't do that anymore. I sent my son out to go get us stuff the other day. As I was in line, and they wouldn't sell him anything to him because he didn't have a Costco membership. And I'm like,
Gotta have the Costco membership. And Dylan, what's interesting is that unlike a lot of Costco's on the mainland, our Costco hot dog pizza stand is outside all the time.
Yes.
It's outdoors.
Yes.
It's not behind walls or anything. It isn't like you have to walk into the Costco to pick up that hot dog for $1.50. But deal of the century, man. Deal of the century. Kelly, what's the rule for hosted vacation rentals? Kelly, I wish Scott was here. If you want, Kelly, send me an email and I'll shoot it off to Scott.
Kelly's here on the Big Island, so if you want to know about the Big Island, there is no rule. If it's a hosted rental, as long as your neighborhood CCNRs don't explicitly prohibit it, there's no regulation on it. You don't need a permit. I mean, you can just do it because it's a hosted rental and you have someone on the property.
So thank you so by hosted, we're saying you still you kind of are living on the property. You're kind of renting out a room or something to a visitor, but you're still living in the home as opposed to a genuine vacation rental, which is like you're not there. You're living somewhere else and you're renting out your entire unit, condo, house, or whatever. That's what you mean by hosted vacation rental.
Correct.
I don't know I'm going to assume the rules are similar on Oahu and Kelly. I don't know if you're talking about Oahu, but thank you, Dylan, for answering the Big Island side of things. So that's great. Pam is visiting our daughter in Honolulu. Beautiful, from Denver. Pam, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you mention to me that your daughter's going to, if I'm not mistaken, your daughter's going to UH or something like that? Anyway, I hope you're having a great time. This is perfect weather, man. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm kind of really enjoying it. Bobby's back. Welcome, Bobby. Bobby is an alumni of the Honor Ohana, living on the Big Island, and he's got like the coolest pictures. I love your Facebook photo. Your Facebook photos are great. It's like amazing food or amazing views. Hello, everyone still joining the new and updated information here. Bobby, we are really glad that you're here. And Norm, for us here in the Bay Area, it's very expensive also. Yep, 2 small bags from Costco, $248 yesterday. Property tax on the Big Island is half the percentage than here, so I hope it will help. Yeah, we are known for our lower than the one thing that we do have is we do have a typically lower than national averages on property tax. And finally, Jess is back with us. Jess, aloha, Jess, and Jess is back with us, and she's hanging out in Kona. All right, I think we cleared up that queue. Heidi, it's your turn. Fill us in. What's the latest Maui news, Maui market, Maui interesting things?
Sure. Well, I'll talk about the market a little bit and then comment on a couple of the other things. There's less sales happening right now in Maui than there were a year ago, but that, just really seems to be a lack of inventory. Just to give everybody a little bit of a snapshot on Maui, there's currently 145 condos for sale. There's 342 in escrow under contract right now. And for single family homes, there's 161 for sale. There's 220 under contract in escrow right now. So, new properties are still coming on the market, but the market's pretty much absorbing the demand. And everybody has a different perspective. Some people are kind of taking a pause thinking, oh, interest rates are rising. There's uncertainty. Maybe I'm going to hold off. But then other people, that's further motivating them to take action before interest rates do go up higher. We're not seeing any downturn in the market right now. It seems to be, pretty active and stable still over here. Just to kind of comment on the cost of living, I've completely noticed food prices have gone up. All I can speak to is, for me personally, it just makes me very conscious of what I buy. Can't afford those junk food or snacks because it's just too expensive. So I'm just more thoughtful in what I purchase. And Oh, you mentioned, Peter, the empty house
Yes,
tax.
the empty house
Did you
tax.
want me to
Yes.
comment on that?
Sure. Please, please, please.
Um, so, I mean, it's always politically popular to suggest taxing people that are not here on island and are not residents. So, I mean, I think that's another way to look for sources of income. Um, in our property tax section last week, we did talk about, I mean, even for non-owner occupied property taxes on Maui and in Hawaii in general are still much lower than a lot of major markets. So, I mean, it's just an effort to tax that. But then it's kind of the opposite about wanting to tax the people doing Picasso, which is the shared ownership, and then there'd be more people and always people in the house, and they want to tax that too. So anyway, we'll see what happens. There's always new proposals for revenue. Um, because the nightly rates for vacation rentals have gone up so much in the last couple years, I mean, in some cases 20, 30% than what they were getting in 2019, that's also motivating people to buy too, that love Maui and love Hawaii and want to be here. I mean, I'm hearing from some people like they can't afford not to buy and not to own something here because they don't want to pay the inflated nightly rental rates. And on vacation rentals, there's 17% tax on every vacation rental. I mean, there's Maui County transient accommodation tax, general excise tax, the state transient accommodation tax. So if somebody wants to spend an extended period of time on Maui, I mean, it really long term, if they're going to be coming back year after year, a lot of buyers are finding that it's really to their advantage to buy something rather than continue renting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, Heidi, because and Dylan, I want to get your feedback on this too if you've been following this. But I think it's because it's this time of the year. We're late April. The state's legislative session is going to come to a close in a few weeks. So a bunch of bills. It's like bill finalization period. I'm getting a lot of headlines from one or another, and I'm just kind of seeing one, tax increases proposed headline after another, like the one that that Heidi mentioned. There was another one for the Oahu. There's some discussion about increasing property taxes for short-term vacation rentals. Dylan, I don't know I don't know what if there's anything that's catching on the big on for more tax increases, but man, it's like tax increases like the headline everywhere. Dylan, you have anything that you want to share on that one?
Well, it's just one of those unintended consequences things, right? Government always does things and it doesn't think about the unintended consequences. And really, if you look back on this, right, the hotel industry drove this, right? So because we're heavily unionized and we're always giving unions more benefits, it became more expensive for hotels to operate, which increased the cost of hotel rooms. And now if you try and get a hotel room, even at a very average resort here, you're talking $400 or $500 a night. It's crazy just for a hotel room. And when you add in all the taxes and stuff that they've added onto that. So what did it do? It incentivizes people to use their homes as hotel rooms. And so now we're trying to go after that. And then what like Heidi's talking about. So now we're going to disincentivize make it so expensive to do that now people are from somewhere else are going to buy those properties instead because it's more economically beneficial for them to become one of those people who owns a house and rents it out in order to have some place to stay. So it just feeds this cycle of unintended consequences and it never really solves the problem. And we just keep going around and around and around. And at some point, the thing that I worry about macroeconomically in Hawaii is that we will price people out. For many years, we were the only tropical destination that Americans, what felt comfortable going to. And that is no longer the case, right? I mean, the world is very safe. I mean, COVID kind of shut that down a little bit, but the world is very safe. You can go to Thailand, you can go to Mexico, you can go to Indonesia, you can go to all kinds of places now. Air travel is a lot cheaper than it used to be. You can go to Bali, you can go to Samoa, you can go to all of these different places. And at some point, if it's cheaper to buy a plane ticket that's twice as much, because when you get there, your stay is going to be a third the cost and you're going to have, a luxury villa with a maid and a cook and all this kind of stuff where it's going to cost the same to come to Hawaii and stay in a hotel room, people are going to stop coming, right? And so at some point you kind of cut your nose off to spite your face. So it's not smart policy in the long run. And we're already seeing that. I mean, there's visitor counts are down, but revenue kind of stays the same because you continue to increase the cost of, for the visitors that do come. At some point there's going to be a breaking point where that's not going to work anymore. So it's an interesting thing to follow, but we've seen it progress over the years.
Well, I think the fun part, right, is this unintended consequence thing. There's always unintended consequences, and the funny part is that this is like a commonly known phrase, unintended consequences. Everyone knows it, but yet we don't think about what might be the unintended consequences of a policy decision that we're about to make.
And the other thing kind of newsworthy in terms of like the real estate world is May 1st they're going to implement this sea level rise disclosure that we have to incorporate
Mm,
into our contracts. And
mm,
so that is going to have an interesting effect on, if it's not already for some buyers scary enough to buy on an island with a volcano and possible tsunamis and hurricanes and everything else, and now we're telling them, your property could be underwater in the future, it's going to have an interesting effect on oceanfront property or low-lying properties. I mean, Hawaii, Big Island doesn't have as many because it's a younger island, but if you look on Kauai and Oahu, telling somebody that the sea level is going to rise 3 feet in the next 50 years or whatever, which again, there's a lot of debate over that, could definitely disincentivize and hurt property prices, right, in those areas, because you're going to disincentivize people from buying them or scare them off from buying them. So, another interesting thing that the legislature has done, which we'll see what the consequences are.
yeah, that's a really, really good point. Just one more thing, right? Just one more thing to add, and sea level rise. Yeah, that's a whole topic unto itself. I'm just gonna skate past that one right there. Hey, why don't we do this? There's a couple of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff. We're gonna catch up on it. I gotta show this fun one. So thank you, Jess, for sharing this. So Jess says, Dylan, I saw your photo on my Target receipt yesterday. So Dylan, are you advertising on Target receipts? Maybe like an ad thing
Not
or
that
something?
not that I'm aware of.
Jess, I wish there
Send
was
me
a
a
way to.
picture, Jess. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Does Jess have your email? If so, yeah, please send it over to Dylan so we can see it. I'd love to, and I wish I could talk and chew gum at the same time, but I would take an email from you and show it on the screen, but I can't do it. But thank you, thank you, Jess. So Dylan, either Dylan or your doppelganger, your evil twin, is showing up on the on the Target receipt. Excellent. Hey, actually, it was really kind of funny. Somebody brought this up. So Paul brought this up. Okay, Paul. Fun Friday topic. What's your favorite singer or band album? All right. Well, that's that. Okay, let's have some fun on that. Real quick, real fast. Heidi, favorite band?
Oh gosh, I'd have to think about that.
Dylan, favorite band?
I
First thing
grew
comes to
up
your mind.
on a ranch, so I'm all country guy. So like Garth Brooks, George
Garth
Strait,
Brooks. Garth Brooks. All right.
Alan Jackson. I love all the country, like the '90s country era is like my favorite type of music. So
What popped in my head immediately was the greatest band ever known and there ever will be, Led Zeppelin. There is no one else but Led Zeppelin. That's my favorite. Kind of my time. Heidi, what about you? Are we back? You got anything, Heidi?
Oh gosh, I mean, I listen to all kinds of bad '90s music.
Well, tell me the first thing that pops in your head. Go ahead, Dylan.
fun Hawaii fact, right? Is and it's not so much the case today, but definitely when I was younger and you're kind of more insulated from, we didn't have the internet and stuff like that, and MTV was really our only exposure to mainland music. Is when I was in boot camp in the Marines, people were talking about like Metallica and Led Zeppelin, all these bands, and I had never even heard of them before. I mean, these are, like globally known bands, but like there was no Hawaii music stations that, radio stations that played that type of music. So like rock and roll and stuff. I mean, I had never heard of, a Rolling Stones song. I mean, any of that stuff. So we definitely grew up in a very, it wasn't that long ago, but we were very isolated music wise here in Hawaii.
That's a good one.
I had never heard a Metallica song till I was in my 20s, and by that time they had been around for 15 years or something like that.
So funny because you guys are so well. So here, to speak to the isolation, here's something that people will trip out on, and Dylan, you can confirm that. I want to hear your confirmation or denial here. It used to be a long time ago in Hawaii before satellite. How did Hawaii get its news? Right, we had the local news stations that did the local broadcast, but how would we get national news? It didn't get beamed over by satellite. How did we get it? Well, it got sent over on a reel, like a movie reel, and it got sent over by plane. So certainly not by boat. It got sent over by plane. So the national news, Dylan, I don't know if this was before
it
your
was
time,
like a day. Yeah, it was like a day old.
It was a day old, literally a day old. Yeah, a day old news because it came over literally on Reels. So thanks, Paul. And so, Paul, why don't we do this? Hey, everyone, let's expand this. Let me get to the right slide deck over here. All right, let's do it, folks. Who's your favorite band? Paul, you got this ball rolling. Let's hit it. Who's your favorite singer or band or album? And Heidi is Heidi a goth? That's Paul's prediction. I don't even know what that means actually, but I'm gonna put it to Heidi to kind of to respond to that one or not.
That was more a Northwest thing, wasn't it? Like Pearl Jam, and isn't that the
I don't
goth
even know what that
genre? I don't know.
gothic. I got.
Yeah.
I don't know. Paul, maybe what's yours? But everybody, throw us your favorite band. All right, I need to catch up on a couple of comments over here. So let's why don't we do this? Okay, first of all, Andre, good Friday to y'all. Yes, Andre, welcome. Knew someone named Shepard, Shepard Kona. He had lived in Hawaii. Nice guy. I could always count him to give me a ride to my recyclables to a distant community. Well, welcome, Andre. We don't know of Shepard. Maybe Dylan does, but it's great. Let's see. I got a question I want to hit. Oh yeah, Patrick. Okay, so Patrick has got a question for us. So let me get the thing. Will this work? No, let's do it. Maybe let's. Okay, I'm not too sure how it's going to work. Let's just do it this way. Yeah, my head above the thing. Okay, sorry, gang. We're just kind of trying to do it. This is a big question. So Patrick says, let's toss out a question to Hillen, Heidi, Dylan, and Scott for all three islands. New employment on any of the islands as an Uber or Lyft driver. Are there any restrictions on new rideshare drivers moving there, establishing residency, shipping a car, registering in Hawaii, then beginning driving? I'm already able to make a living trading stocks and commodities on a full-time basis. Driving would be in addition to trading. Any suggestions, recommendations, ideas would be welcome. So let's just kind of take this real quick. So Patrick, the Uber, Lyft, etc. There's people who do Uber, Lyft. I have family members who do DoorDash. So I think those things are there. I have no idea what the business model looks like on the neighbor islands, like Dylan. I don't know how much Uber driving there is on the Big Island, or Heidi, what you got there. But I could tell you from on the Oahu perspective, because of Oahu's density, very very high dense thing. There's definitely Uber drivers. I've used Uber. I don't use Uber often, but about a month ago or so, I used an Uber driver, and there's like door dashing. Family members tell me that door dashing is only good on the weekends. There's not a lot of door dashing during the week. Why don't we go counterclockwise, Heidi, and then Dylan. Heidi, anything you want to kind of add for Patrick on his Uber driving or door dashing?
Yeah, I don't have any direct experience with this, but we do have a friend that used to do Uber and Lyft. And Patrick, if you're interested, I'd be happy to put you in touch with somebody that can probably answer all your questions as far as like registering the car and what to expect. I mean, I do remember anecdotally one of the challenges with Uber and Lyft on Maui is people call you to get picked up from the beach and get in the car full of sand and water. But there is Uber and Lyft on Maui. I mean, it's not as dense as a big city, so I don't know what the expectations of income would be, but happy to put you in touch with somebody that's done it firsthand here.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I know, like Turo, they're coming down on Turo because people are making a business. Locals are making a business out of Turo, but they're parking all their quote commercial cars now on the street. I know that's caused some controversy. Dylan, you want to share anything? What's your perspective on the Uber DoorDash thing going on the Big Island?
So my live update is I'm looking at my Uber app right now, and I see one on the road for all of Kona. So my take on it is just for the Big Island is there's definitely more demand for it recently, but I don't think there's enough drivers. So there's definitely an opportunity there. I do have a couple of real estate agents that do part-time driving, and they do pretty well doing that. The one model that works a little bit is more prevalent here on the Big Island is scheduled rides, right? Because you don't have as many people on the road. If you know you got to go somewhere, if you schedule it for the next day, you can get a driver to pick it up and take you at that time. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity. I think in Oahu for sure. I mean, me personally, and this goes back to unintended consequences of increasing prices, is it's so expensive to rent a car right now that if I'm going to go to Oahu for 2 or 3 days and I might have to go 2 or 3 places a day or whatever, I'm gonna Uber instead of renting a car, because my Uber rides are gonna be 25-30 bucks a piece, and the car is gonna cost me 150 a day. I mean, I'm gonna save money because it's gonna be about half as much just to Uber. I don't have to worry about paying for extraordinary parking costs at the hotels. So you got to pay 300 bucks a night and then 35 or 45 bucks a night for parking on top of it. So for me, I'm a prolific Uber and Lyft user, especially when I go to the mainland. If I go to Vegas or any city, like I never rent a car anymore because it's just too much stress to have to figure out how to drive and parking and everything else. And you can just answer emails and social media stuff while you're sitting in the back seat. I love Uber and Lyft. So
it's a great I mean, it's an amazing, it's fun. Just, well, I think the fun of it is being able to, is having the interaction, right, where you kind of call the Uber driver, so to speak, and you could watch them on the map, right? You could watch them driving through. That's always fun. So yeah,
there's definitely, you got to be able to. I think one difference in Hawaii for sure, definitely on the Big Island, is you're driving. You got to pick your driving hours more carefully, because everything closes right after 10 o'clock. Like, nobody's out. It's not like a big city where you're going to have people going home from bars and doing stuff. There's going to be a lot less demand, especially in the middle of the night. So I know some drivers that do it like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. because there's not as much competition. But here, you really got to be driving kind of in the peak hours of the day, definitely in the early evenings and stuff, to have any type of demand.
There's no competition, but there's no buyers either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Let's see here. Let's catch up on some of the comments. So Michael, yeah, Dylan, we got priced out of the Westin Hapuna. I know that, Michael, the Hapuna Beach is one of your favorites. After remodeling the hotel, they no longer provide the Costco discount, and rooms are up to $1,000 a day.
It's insane.
Man,
for a hotel room.
That is. I remember Scott was mentioning something about that too. He was looking for something. It's like $1,000 a day. That's like, wow,
Yeah.
holy molies. But Dylan, Steve does enjoy your logical thinking. So I'm, Dylan, Steve, it's one of the fun things. We could get into it. We could get into it with Dylan, and we come down to a policy discussion, and it gets all kinds of fun. Let's see. Jenna says, have supply chain issues changed your recommendations regarding what household possessions to move to Hawaii? Interesting point. This goes back to a bunch of Dylan. I give your advice actually often, borrowing it from you, which is, if you're going to move to Hawaii, kind of do all or nothing. Either like get a container and load up the container and bring the whole thing over, or kind of like get rid of everything except for the car. So my quick take on it is that I think that rule still applies. The supply chain issues, furniture is an issue. I've heard of that. I don't know if that's changed. If anyone's got any experience about the furniture issue, it's changed. You can go to Costco and get some basic furniture. I would still kind of go with Dylan's advice is, if you know how much space you have to move into before you do it, because there's a really good chance you're going to bring too much stuff. Dylan, what's your take on that?
Yeah, definitely. That there's definitely supply chain issues still. I mean, I've saw a really nice luxury house the other day that had like a plain Jane white refrigerator in it, and the listing agent said this is because they can't get the refrigerator broke. They needed a new one, so they had to have a refrigerator in the house, but they just can't. That's all they could get from Home Depot. Like, everything else is on back order, and especially if you want something really nice, like a Sub-Zero fridge or something like that. So that's definitely the case. If you're looking at buying real estate, I would always say, think about negotiating for the furniture. So I had a transaction recently where the furniture wasn't part of the transaction, but we offered them extra money on the sale to leave it, and the seller said, okay. If everybody's got a price, right? And so people were coming, they didn't want to have to ship stuff, they didn't want to have to wait for furniture, and it was a large house with a lot of furniture, and so they just felt, they felt like, what do we got to do? So I said, if you offer X amount over the list price and say we want the furniture too, they may go for that, and they did. So that's something you could consider doing.
That's a really, really good idea. It's really straightforward and simple. Really good idea. Heidi, what's your advice to people that are looking at, buying or moving, and they ask you questions like, hey, what should I bring, household possessions, etc. What should I move to Hawaii?
In general, I mean, unless you really, really love your furniture and have unique things you want to bring, I mean, I think people more often err in bringing too much stuff and bringing things that they can't use or don't fit in their new space. A lot of properties are sold furnished here, and there are resources to get furniture. I mean, we have design stores, we have furniture stores on Maui. Yes, some things might take a little bit longer, but I mean, you can obtain and ship things here. So I think it just depends on your situation. But if you're still house shopping, I wouldn't necessarily ship a huge container of furniture over unless it's just things that you absolutely love and can't live without. I mean, it's often easier to just start start new and with furniture that's going to work for your new space. It's kind of a personal decision. I mean, it just depends how attached you are to certain items and what you have.
It is very much a personal decision. To me, based on my experience, this was a very long time ago. But like, don't bring it. I brought the car, and that's all I should have brought. I brought a bunch of other junk that I never used. Lugged. Long story, but lugged a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, unless there's something precious. And the other thing, Dylan, Heidi, when you mentioned about moving furniture, Dylan, what I thought about you is the story about, careful about the mainland furniture because it also may have termites in it. So I remember you mentioning that before a while ago. So
Or your antique family furniture gets here and the termites tear it up. So that's the other option. It's not a place if you're going to bring family heirlooms, because the termites they may not eat your house, but they'll definitely eat your furniture. So
excellent. We had a few folks here. Some more shout outs. Mark Lowe, welcome back. Mark is an alumni of the Islander Ohana, and Jess says, oh yeah, it was some receipt that said EXP Realty. So maybe that's it, Dylan, because Dylan's real estate firm is under the brand of EXP Realty. Andre says topographic oceans. I hope, is that a band? Is that the name of a band? Andre, topographic oceans. I'm not too sure where. I bet it's a band, right? Christopher, what's health and car insurance like in Hawaii? Is more or less than the mainland? If I'm not mistaken, well, I don't have an answer for you. I think my gut is that I think car insurance is at or less because there's less miles driven. Car insurance usually related to miles driven. Now that may be different on the Big Island. Dylan, I don't know if you've got anything you want to share about that, but I think insurance here is a little bit lower because it's you drive less and it's a little bit of a safer environment. Health insurance, I'm not sure. I know our health insurance is good. Gang, if the Ohana has if you've all got some feedback, I'd love to kind of hear what your experience has been on this. Heidi, let's do Dylan and then Heidi. Dylan, anything you want to feedback on this one?
In general, the feedback I get from people is that car insurance is cheaper here. So, compared to other places, I don't know, because I've never lived anywhere else or paid car insurance recently anywhere else. I have 3 cars fully insured, and it's like $1,200 a year or $1,300. I don't even know. It's not even, it's not a huge amount. And then on health insurance, I don't know. Health insurance is expensive everywhere, I think. So
yeah, I don't know how.
And it depends. And it depends on your situation, right? Like in Hawaii, we have really strong employment laws that require health insurance, and so if you're getting health insurance through your employer, again, you may not feel the cost necessarily, but of course, it's built into your benefit package and your overall wages and stuff. But if you're buying it privately, it's pretty expensive. It's like $600 for an individual and $1,200 plus for a family per month for health insurance if you don't have some employment benefit plan.
Yeah, health insurance, I would definitely recommend that you get some kind of a full-time job. That would be go or get some kind of a job that includes health benefits, just because, like you said, Dylan, the laws in Hawaii are pretty strict about employers providing health insurance. Technically speaking, go ahead.
And another, unintended consequence, right? Hawaii requires full insurance if you're working 20 hours or more a week. And so guess how many 20-hour a week, 19-hour a week jobs there are. So that's what employers do, is they only let you work 19 hours a week. So
that's right. Yeah. That's right. And unfortunately, you have a lot of families who are working a lot of part-time jobs.
Several 19-hour a week jobs.
Several 19-hour a week jobs. Surviving, paycheck to paycheck with no health insurance because they can't get that. Unintended consequences. Heidi, you want to share anything of your experience between a health or car insurance on Maui?
Yeah, when I first moved to Maui, I started working at this antique map gallery, and I worked there part-time, but over 20 hours a week. And I had some of the best health insurance I've ever had. And it was pretty awesome. And now, as an independent contractor and a realtor, I purchased my own health insurance. It's about $500 a month, and it's pretty good coverage. I did notice, because I moved here originally from Illinois, car insurance is less, but then as a realtor, I need to get extra coverage in case I have people in my car. So, I mean, it's not that much less, but I think if I I wasn't having that really premium insurance. It would be a pretty significant discount to what I was paying previously. I mean, I was living in downtown Chicago. I think it's pretty expensive there. So,
Yeah, downtown Chicago, and a lot of traffic acts, a lot of traffic of expenses. Let's put it that way. A lot of traffic related accident expenses are in Chicago just because of the aggressive driving. All right, Auntie Joyce, we're getting the bands there. The favorite band, Springsteen, Bruce Springsteen, and E Street Band had a place at Jersey Shore and went to the Stone Pony in Asbury Park to listen to them. I bet you can have some stories. I bet you can share all kinds of great stories on that one, Auntie Joyce. Love to hear them one day. Norm says the album "Eat a Peach" by the Allman Brothers. Blue Sky, great song, love it. There's something about, like, going back and reminiscing about your favorite songs and your favorite bands. So thank you for asking about that, Paul Lucas. Jess, never mind. It's another EXP realtor. Also had a I'm not gonna say bald because Dylan's is not bald. He's got a very, very, very short haircut.
Hey,
So
I'll take the missed advertising all day long, so that's
heck
cool.
yeah, heck yeah. So here's another '90s. Jana, the Cars, child of the '80s. Yes, indeed. The Cars. Uh, Graceland by Paul Simon. Well, Paul, that's kind of fitting. It's the same first name over here. Um, Heather says, I'm with Heidi. I don't really have a favorite band or album, but I did get into the PNW. What does that mean? PNW grunge scene in the '90s because I live here,
Pacific
but
Northwest.
Pacific Northwest. Okay, Pacific Northwest. Thank you, Pacific Northwest grunge scene, because I lived here, but listen to everything now. Yeah, I would say I do listen. There's only two kinds of music, right? Good and bad. On any given day, my mix would include Led Zeppelin and Greek Orthodox chants. So there you go. Joyce says, my husband drove Uber for a while last year. Oh, thank you. That's helpful. When rentals were needed, he made $7,000 working 4 hours a day over 5 weeks. Wow. Now rental cars available. Not sure if it's still the case, or that's wow. That's a nice a little extra income there. Dave says Uber drivers do good on cruise ship days. So thanks, Dave and Auntie Joyce. That's like the thing, right? You got to kind of sort of play it sort of smart. You got to kind of go with the flow of kind of what's going on cruise ship days. But then again, with this COVID jail story, I don't know how the cruise ship days may be numbered. Agree with Dylan. Chris will go around 4 p.m. until the bar's closed. So there you go. So Patrick is thankful. There you go, Patrick. Man, the Ohana kicks in again. Absolutely. Okay, Vespers by Monteverde. Darn good also. Man, Andre has got it. Topographic by Yes. There you go. Boom. Kelly says, even moving inter-island can be considered a long-distance move. Yes, because what are you going to do? Pull it? You can't drive there, right? So you've got to get there by some inter-island means. You're going to use Young Brothers, which is the shipping company, the boat shipping company, Young Brothers, that does all the inter-island moves. They're pretty good, and or you're gonna have to fly it there, but you can't drive it there. At least not for a while. Auntie Joyce tells us that's a lot less in California. Yeah, a lot less than California. Thank you. Auntie Joyce, I think almost everything is a lot less than California these days. At least that's what I'm catching. Do you think there's a demand for a first-rate violin instructor on the islands? Dry side, you're going to have to find that one out for yourself. I don't know. Look at Facebook Marketplace. Find out who's looking for it or asking for it. Let's see. Mark says, when we looked last year, auto insurance was comparable to Northern Ohio in a small suburb of Cleveland. Yeah, that makes sense. Small town stuff. Def Leppard, Pyromania. Oh man, thanks, Mark, for just flashing me back to that time. The Pyromania. There we go. And Patrick is giving a shout out to Auntie Joyce. Awesome. All right, great stuff over here. Let's move on, gang. Just want to do a quick a station identification over here. If you're here because of the newsletter that you got on Wednesday, God bless you. If you never get the newsletter, you want to get on that newsletter. We give you invites to this free show, all kinds of other news and updates. We got by the way, we're getting some great photos that people are submitting, which is really awesome. They're like they're my favorites. So we're posting those on, as well as, of course, YouTube videos and things of that nature. Livinginhawaii.com. That's where you want to go. Make sure you're on the newsletter. As soon as you get there, you'll get a pop-up to add in your email address, and then you'll go from there. All right. Why don't we do this? It's 1:45 right now. Why don't we let's move right into Let's move into including our diamonds and deals. Let's do that because it show is it's kind of funny. I always try to plan out with lots of questions, but we never we never get to them, which is great. It's much more fun to talk with you folks live and interactively. Much more enjoyable. Diamonds and deals. All right. So Heidi and Dylan have picked out properties that they think are diamonds or deals or both. Typically, it's both. So let's kind of move into this one. Let's see what do we got over here. Okay. So this looks amazing. Honokala Road, Haiku Maui, vacant land, jungle property. I love jungle properties. Heidi, what are we looking at over here?
So this is a listing on Maui right now. It's listed in MLS as vacant land because all the structures are unpermitted. But then when you start reading about the property, it says that this tetrahedral house is recognized as artwork by the National Endowment of the Arts and was actually constructed by an apprentice to Frank Lloyd Wright. So you have this structure, you have another cottage, and the property comes with this very extensive inventory of food forest edibles, which is basically just naming all the plants and fruit trees and how you can live off the land. And then one of the other main features is high-speed internet. Now, the water is catchment water. The access to the property is undocumented over government land. I mean, there's definitely some things here to look at. And, there's all these structures totally unpermitted, but you're in the middle of the jungle on Maui. So I thought it was pretty unique.
Man, Heidi, I think this is in my view, personal opinion, the coolest property we've ever had. It's just something about this that I'm a I don't want to use the word sucker for jungle houses, but I'm really attracted to jungle houses, even though they're dangerous as heck because you got bugs and all kinds of stuff on them. My wife and I almost bought a jungle house, eons ago. I'm really attracted, and Heather loves it. Heather, what do you think, Heather? I know you're looking. Heather, living in the jungle, you got high speed internet, so you can work remotely, right? Right, Heidi? There's high speed internet.
Yeah, high-speed internet.
Gang, this is like the dream house, man. You're living in the jungle. You're you're eating off of the fruit trees on your property. You're catching water you're catching catchment water, rainwater, jungle house, unpermitted as hell. You'll probably get kicked off of it at some point in time by some government body or whatever. Do your due diligence. But thank you, Heidi. This is really and I'm also a Frank Lloyd Wright fan. I'm a huge Frank Lloyd Wright fan. There's actually a house, Dylan. There's a house on the Big On that's been designed by Frank Lloyd Wright that you could have gotten on Airbnb. I don't know if it's still available. Dave, hurry up, gang! 100% cash sale, gang. You want to get a hold of Heidi. You want to get a hold of Heidi. Get this thing. Don't mess with it, man. So yeah, see, I knew this was going to be popular, right? Dry site says I like it. Centipedes, dry site centipedes is going to be the least of your problems. Trust me, it's a jungle house. I mean, jungle houses in Hawaii are a real jungle. The jungle is always encroaching, right, Dylan?
And centipedes are everywhere, so it doesn't matter if you're in the jungle or not. Centipedes are everywhere. And actually, they're actually more prevalent, I've found, in like lower lying dry areas than they are in the forested, more agricultural areas.
Oh, maybe centipedes may not like it wet. I'm not sure. They prefer dry. Yeah. Mark says, is there a remedy to unpermitted structures other than a tear down? Heidi, real quick, what's your response to that?
Well, I mean, they could apply for some kind of after the fact permit, but I mean, it's probably going to be a long process. And who knows? I mean, one of the other tricky things about the property is the driveway to get in the property goes over some government land and isn't necessarily, it's questionable whether it's a legal access. So, so hence the low price. But there is this inventory of like 40 different things on this property that you can eat. I mean, there's pineapple, mango, coffee, avocado, jackfruit, ulu, 3 kinds of bananas, star fruit. I mean, there's fig, tomatoes. I mean, there's so much property, and there's a little stream that runs through it.
Oh my God, a stream too? Oh man, Heidi, this is speaking to me. I'm just like, This is like my little dream come true. I've always wanted a high. I've always dreamed of, and again, these are dreams, gang, because like all the downsides are like, man, there's a whole lot of downsides, right? Dylan's cracking up. You know what I'm talking about, right? There's all kinds of downsides of this, but a stream on the
It's a
property.
That's one unique thing about Hawaii is we have kuleana laws, right? So if you have a landlocked property without legal access, you're supposed to be able to use other people's property to get there. So it causes an issue for title insurance. Definitely, lenders aren't gonna be real. They're not gonna approve of it. But it's a kind of a unique thing in Hawaii where you have a lot of these landlocked type of properties that you do have access. You have functional access, but it's not necessarily legal access, and so it's complicated.
So anyway, thank you, Heidi, for this, for giving us all a chance. Hey, gang, what's your feedback on this? Is this for you? Do you have like starry eyed? Are you all starry eyed and kind of looking at this like, oh my God, this is what I want. I want the tetrahedron. I want the. This is like check off everything on the hippie checklist, right? This is like tetrahedron home designed by a Frank Lloyd Wright fan and grow your own fruits and vegetables with a natural stream going through, and it's unpermitted as all hell. That just like checks off all the boxes. All right, what do you all think? You in? Heather, you getting this? Come on, Dave, let's do it. All right, that's enough. That was Scott's property. Okay, here we go. And now for something completely different. Dylan, what do we got here? four bedroom, 4.5 Pu'ulani Ranch. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is just a cool property that caught my eye, in terms of design, and I love this location. This is a small gated subdivision in kind of between Kona and Waimea. So it's high elevation. It's in Pu'anahulu, which is just a cool kind of, it's set up on kind of a ridge. And so you have these killer views of the mountain and the ocean, and it's an equestrian community. So part of the HOA fees and stuff is there's an arena and facilities to house horses and stuff. So just a cool kind of unique community here on our island. And I just like this house. It's got like a octagon on one part of it, and then it's got a separate, and they're both, so there's like four separate living areas. And if you had multi-generational, or you wanted to do some type of rental or something like that, just a cool, it's on an acre and a half too, so lots of space. All of the it's an agricultural subdivision, so all of the lots are an acre plus, so it's not dense, you're not close to your neighbors and stuff, but just cool property if you want to, you want that kind of elevation living. It's always, you don't need any air conditioning because it's always cool up there. It's probably at like 1,500 to 2,000 feet, somewhere around there in terms of elevation. There's a golf course right across the street, Makani Golf Club, great high elevation golf course. It's cool all year round and very nice. So just cool property. So caught my eye.
Beautiful. What's
Yeah.
how much how big is the plot of land? Do you know offhand?
Oh, this one's an acre and a half.
Acre and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to say the Waimea, the first time I drove through Waimea, I just fell in love with that whole area. That area is just, and this is sort of like in between there. You mentioned it's kind of, because it's like it's on your way up. It looks like.
Yeah, it's right in, it's not really in the middle. It's like 20 minutes outside of Kona, and then it's probably another like 40 minutes to Waimea.
Yeah, kind of right in
Yeah.
between over there. Yeah. Yeah, I love that area. This is a beautiful property. And it's it's great view too. I love the shot. Nice place. What a great contrast, right, gang? Well, okay, Patrick, ready to make an offer? Get Patrick. Fill out the form. Get a hold of Heidi. Hurry up and get this thing. But you're not going to be competing against Auntie Joyce, because she's not for the jungle house. She's not going to go back. But maybe Auntie Joyce about the Spoolani Ranch one. That might not be bad. Dry Side said too big for us. Just me, just me and wife and daughter. Very nice though. I'm assuming you're talking about this Pu'ulani Ranch. What about the jungle house, Dry Side? What about Dry Side like it, but centipedes. Well, centipedes. No worries. Okay, this is a great, gang. Anybody else? Okay, excuse me just for a moment. All right, gang. We are winding down. We got 7 minutes to go over here, and I think we're gonna move on. Why don't we just kind of do this? Anybody else have any questions? Last chance. Make sure you get them in. Make sure that I didn't miss anybody. Oh, I almost passed it up, and I'm glad I caught it. And Joan Valentine's got Joan is an actress, which is kind of totally cool. Ohana alumni member. When I was working for Decca in New York, I was invited to the Fillmore East to see the Who perform Tommy the Rock Opera for the first time. Man, there you go. That's now we're talking. Now we are talking. Thanks. I'm glad I caught that, Joan. I really appreciate you sharing with that. All right, gang. Why don't we do this? Let us move on to. It's time for that part of the show. We're going to move on to our closing thoughts. And, no questions notwithstanding. Let's do that. I missed out on. I actually forgot about doing my part this piece, but I think let's see. We got Scott's not here, but Heidi's here. Heidi, is this yours?
That's mine.
There you go. What is it, and what do you like about it?
So we always have more options than we think. Um, it's just a good awareness to realize that, I mean, whatever you're dealing with in life, like sometimes there might be a couple obvious choices, or you might think, I need to do this or this, but challenge yourself to be creative. And there really are so many options for just about anything you're trying to achieve or accomplish. And it's just a reminder to myself to take the time and think about what are some of those other options.
That's a really good point, right? I mean, sometimes we get sort of stuck in the thick of things, and you kind of don't give yourself the permission to kind of think, look, there is another way. There's always another way. Even though you may not be able to see something, ask yourself the question, what are the other options over here? And so, well said. Joyce, Auntie Joyce says, yeah, saw Tommy in New York City on Broadway. Awesome. It's, it's the gang getting back together again. And Joan, you struck a nerve here because Andre, the Who was the first concert I went to, hitched 400 miles round trip. Now there's a hardcore Who fan. Let's see. Can you put me at work as an assistant in the real estate business? Well, dry side, I don't know, man. You're gonna have to reach out and find out if we can make that work. All right, excellent, great feedback, everybody. Okay, let's go on to Dylan. Dylan, what is it and why do you like it?
So I'm reading a book right now called The Psychology of Money, which I highly recommend. So I got this from that, and the book's all about one, how people behave in the use of money, and it's something that I'm always interested in because in our business, people have vastly different perspectives about buying property or finances in general, and you really can't let your own personal views cloud, or you have to try and understand what people are doing and what their motivations are and what their perspectives are. And so this quote, about genius is a person who can do the average thing when everyone else is going crazy. This is actually from Napoleon, and it context was kind of more in battle, right? Like the guy who's going to survive in battle is the one who can be average when everybody else is losing their minds or freaking out. And that's definitely the case. And this was in the context of investing. The book uses this quote, but I just thought it was impactful and something just to always remember. And the point was that if you are a average long-term investor, you are the most successful, after many years, and use Warren Buffett as an example. Like look at his outlying types of investments, but the truth is he's a very average long run investor. But because he's been average for 70 years, he's the most wealthy guy, investment banker in the world. Where you have many others that have got lucky over a short period of time, but weren't good in the long run, and so you don't hear about them or you forget about them, who had much better returns in a shorter amount of time. So just be average for all the time, and you'll see the most success.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, really, that is so. And as the as the years have kind of sort of piled on and gone through, and I've gone through the years, that is really a huge. That's a great nugget there, right? Is that you don't need to be spectacular, although that's very alluring. It's very right. It's you know um, we all get kind of entranced by being spectacular, the superstars, the billionaires, right? But you don't need to do that. You just need to do okay and be consistent and make it work and leverage your time, make time work for you, do the right things. But it's not hard to do. I just had a good friend of mine, when sort of like almost like a brother to me. He just retired just last week. Every day, kind of your everyday electrician. Okay. Electricians make good money, but they don't make incredible money. But this guy was the everyday electrician. but he was really good with his money over his time, did the right things, and he's retiring at 62, and he's golden. He's set. He doesn't have to worry about it. He's socked away enough money. He's got his house, and they're all paid for, and all this kind of junk, and living in Hawaii and loving life, and just the average guy, but just did average things. Average guy, average thing. Great point. Great point. Excellent.
And
Okay.
it applies to everything, right? Like your health. Like you see people in today's world where they diet and do this, crazy workouts for like a short period of time and lose a bunch of weight, and they just gain it all back, and they just go up and down and up and down, up and down. And even relationships. Like to me, you shouldn't, focus too much on the special days. If you treat every day like a good day, and you're consistent with that and average on that all the time, I think long term, our friendships and our marriages and stuff are better off than focusing on high points once in a while. So.
Yeah, that's so true. And you mentioned it, and just to add into that, I maybe 20 years ago, maybe, my doctor said, "Hey, look, you got to lose weight." I was 200 pounds at that time, and God said you have to lose weight. So I kind of went on this thing, and when I got done, I thought, I would, if I was to write a book about this, and this is 20 years ago, and I'm still at my high school weight that I was, which is 165. But if I had to title the book would be "How to Lose 35 Pounds in Only 5 Years," because that was, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of, I went to this slow, definitely.
Not a catchy headline.
Right? Because it's like, because hey, how many people have been trying to lose weight for 10 years and are still where they were, right? So, but this was, and the idea was that this slow, average way, simple, straightforward, keep it simple, straightforward, keep it simple, straightforward is the way to do it. So that's very, very true. Auntie Joyce are going to kick in. I'm old. First concert I saw was the Kingston Trio. Oh man, now you're dating yourself, Auntie Joyce. Kingston Trio. Most people don't even know who the Kingston Trio is. It's like a pack of cigarettes. It's the Kingston Trio. No. It's actually a band. All right, I'm gonna end up with my thing, and I don't have a slide for it, but I'm gonna verb it because I set it aside, just didn't make a slide of it. So as Proverbs, as you know, I'm a big Proverbs fan. This is Proverbs says, "In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to want." And all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to want. In other words, stop talking, do it. Right? Stop talking about it, do it. Right? Toil there is profit. So work hard, you'll get profitable. Mere talk tends only to want. Talk about it, you're never going to get there. Do it. Just sit down and do it. All right. I think that's it for today. I kind of want to thank everybody again, staying with us all the way until the end. Hope you all enjoyed it. It's so much fun. I really come to enjoy this more than I thought I did. And it's great with you, Dylan, and you, Heidi, here, and Scott. We miss you. See you at our next show. The comments have been fantastic. Tom, God bless you. Stayed here with us until the very end. Mahalo as always. We'll see you all later. Why don't we do counterclockwise? Say goodbye, Heidi, and say goodbye, Dylan.
Aloha, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, so I'm glad you. So much fun, so fun. I'm so glad. Thanks, everyone. Aloha. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you folks in 2 weeks. Aloha.